Folks, the crazy train is back in town. The Renegade teacher is back here again with you tonight. I'm fired up. This is going to be the first of, I believe, what will be a 5-part, series, that I'm calling the deep dive, into, an article that I discussed recently on Ed Week, the socially distanced school day, and it's by Madaline Will, and I had a special report, where I broke down, and reacted to, the kind of the overall structure, of the article and the ideas presented in it, and tonight what I want to do, is go back into, the first of the 5 sections that I talked about there, which was safety, and we're going to go on a deep dive for each of those 5 different parts of this article. And I'd like to, thank the people, and kind of react to some of the feedback on the other video. The support is very much, appreciated, and I like how, the comments, got me thinking about how, the support staff, the ultra important people in schools, like cleaning crews, people who are doing the infrastructure support, and the things that oftentimes, especially for students and parents, are kind of behind the scenes, those extremely important roles, and how in the world the powers that are controlling all of this, return to school, nonsense, how are they going to be able to, perform their duties? What is the best structure, to bring students back to school? And I kind of want to, give my 2 cents on it in terms of, the point that I'm trying to make, the message that I'm trying to get out, is that, we're not going to be able to go back to school in the fall, and that's just something. It's a very hard pill for people to swallow, especially, those people who are in power, and who are currently demonstrating, the most mind-blowing levels of incompetence the world has ever seen, and they are terrified that this is all going to be, this is all going to go down on their watch, and they know that they are screwed, and they know that election day is coming, and there is a reckoning. But I will say also, that, I'm currently recording this, on July the 2nd, 2020. And today, I watched a certain governor, in a public, address, one of their updates, dangling the prospects of, things like, fall high school football, and college football, as if those are the things, threatening people with, if they don't take action and they don't social distance and they don't wear masks, that we're going to lose those things, those sacred, pillars upon which our society rests. And I can't help but kind of be pissed off by it, because, there are those of us who have been taking this seriously and trying to, appreciate the simpler things in life, like being able to take our children to the park, and it just really, it all is just too much to handle, folks. I'm already, flying out of control. I already feel my blood pressure spiking before I even get started in the deep dive for the night. So I apologize for the tangents and the emotion coming out. But the point is, we can't go back to school this fall, And the sooner we accept that, the better, because this is absolutely going to be a train wreck. And for the first deep dive, we're going to go into the safety section of the socially distanced school day. I'm going to click on deep dive, and this one is called Keeping Students and Staff Healthy and Safe When Schools Reopen. And what we have here before us, folks, is the deep dive on all of the issues surrounding things like mask wearing, and a few other things here. And I don't want to fly through it too fast, but at the same time, it's a little too much to read every single thing here to you. But I'll go into and say, for the section here that says, should students wear masks? It says there is a massive debate on whether students should wear face coverings in school. Some schools that have reopened in other countries have foregone masks, while others require students, even the youngest learners, to wear them at all times. It says those in favor point to evidence that shows that properly wearing masks can help slow the spread of the virus, which is carried by droplets when an infected person coughs, sneezes, or talks. How about just breathes? It says here, however, some experts are concerned that students, especially younger ones, will constantly touch their faces while fiddling with their masks, making the mask much less effective. Folks, it even has a part here where it says masks are not recommended for children under 2. Folks, if you live on planet Earth, if you are an educator, if you are a parent, and you have any knowledge of how children are when they're in groups, it's just simply not feasible. This is not something, this idea that we're going to somehow pack students into schools and have them wearing masks is just absurd. I cannot take it. It says here, if districts require students to wear masks, they will likely have to purchase and provide them to avoid creating an equity issue for those who can't afford them. As if we're not going to have students who provide their own masks, and as if the students who have to use the one provided by the school, is as if that won't create an equity issue of its own. I can't do it, folks. This is going to be a train wreck. It goes through some more detail here about district leaders needing to weigh their local contexts. Let's see, what else do we have here, folks? This is all too much for me. I'll continue to the next section here that says, should staff wear masks? It says here, there's more of a consensus among public health officials when it comes to having teachers and other school staff wear masks. It says the CDC recommends that all staff wear face coverings. Let me continue here. I'm not going to read this word for word to you. Many teachers, however, are concerned about how wearing face coverings will affect their instruction. Elementary teachers say teaching phonics and other language sounds will be difficult when students can't see their lips moving. And teachers of English language learners worry that students might have a hard time understanding them through a mask. Folks, it's just not feasible. This article, I give them credit. It does a good job of showing all the counter arguments, but I just don't see the abject rejection of the idea, the overt statement of the obvious, and I can't help but be bothered by the lack of it. It says here, should schools check students' temperatures before letting them enter the building? Folks, are we still here? Is this actually something that deserves discussion? Anyone who is on planet Earth and has at least a reasonable bundle of functioning brain cells already knows already knows that asymptomatic cases are a thing, and they're a very big problem. And I can't believe that this is even still part of the discussion. This is absolutely ridiculous. I'm not even going to read that section. I'm not, honestly rejecting this. I'm not even going there. The next one says, should schools conduct COVID-19 testing? It says, some people have raised the possibility of students and staff being tested for COVID-19 before they return to school. However, experts say they're concerned about the feasibility of doing so. Yeah, that absolutely sounds impossible, just based on the disastrous response of every level of government to this crisis. It says here, districts don't have the staff, the expertise, or the resources to administer tests effectively without help from health departments, some say, and the effectiveness of testing hinges on the availability of tests and the local health department's capacity. If it takes weeks to get the results, the test will have been useless. And it also says, experts note that COVID-19 tests involve a nasal swab that is particularly unpleasant for young children. Parents may not give permission for their child to be tested. Folks, it's not going to work. We cannot go back to school in the fall. We're going to have a massive train wreck. This is not possible. It's not going to work. As we go down this deep dive, I am not impressed. It says here, are there enough places for students and staff to wash their hands? Folks, I can't. I'm just going to read it. It says, in many school buildings, there's a shortage of sinks for hand washing for students and staff. While newer elementary buildings might have sinks in classrooms, middle and high schools often tend to have multi-stall bathrooms. Many school bathrooms are equipped with faucets, soap dispensers, toilet handles, and paper towel dispensers that students must touch. Experts recommend that districts install outdoor hand washing stations, which students can use before entering and leaving the building. They also recommend installing soap dispensers and water faucets that are activated by motion, which will reduce touch points, and the spread of the virus. So reducing the spread of the virus. So we are accepting that we are sending our children back into an environment where the virus will circulate, will infect the cohort of students and staff and all of their families. And I cannot believe this is real. This is absolutely blowing me away. And the deep dive is not going to be much longer. There's only a few more sections here. Let me see. Are there enough school nurses? Oh my gosh. Folks, if you know anything about school nurses and how absolutely overwhelmed they are, you would know that sending a bunch of K through 12 students back into the school buildings during a pandemic is going to create a flashpoint, a unsustainable amount of stress and demand, panic attacks by students, and staff probably. People are going to absolutely lose their minds. This is not going to be pretty. Strap in. If you can, prepare to homeschool your children, because this issue has become so politicized. We have basically what is a conspiracy theory, Kool-Aid cult, people who outright reject science, and we have a basically this entirely different worldview, and the children of these two different groups of people are going to commingle, and folks, it's going to get nasty. You are not going to want to be a school teacher, a parent, or a school support staff person during this event. I hate to break it to you, but the world is about to witness the largest walkout of public servants in the history of the country and education at large. This is not going to work. They are driving the train directly into a concrete wall, and we are all on board as citizens and as parents and teachers and anything else that you may be. Just being a resident of a city or a region that has schools, you are going to be affected by this train wreck. No one is going to make it out unscathed in terms of being personally affected by this disaster that is the reopening of schools in the fall. It's not going to work. It says, I cannot do it, folks. I'm going to continue here. It says districts may have to also have to purchase new equipment such as electrostatic disinfectant sprays. It says custodians should disinfect high-touch surfaces like door handles, sink faucets, and handrails multiple times throughout the school day. So how is this going to work? And this is a good time to bring up how many students are going to be in these school buildings at a time. Are we honestly going to split the student population in half somehow by either staggering days, like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday group, and then a Tuesday, Thursday group, and then staggering that back and forth? Or are we going to have somehow morning and evening sessions? How in the world is it possible? Please explain to me in the comments. Please explain to me how in the world this is going to work if we can only have folks, less than half. If you look at the CDC guidance, if you look at the classrooms discussed, and I'm going back to it right now. It's coming up on a future deep dive, and it is in the section, folks, it's the next deep dive. We're going to be looking at scheduling, and if you look, I'm going to give you a preview of how ridiculous this is. We've already talked about it. A classroom with a normal capacity of 31, socially distanced, will have a capacity of 12. Folks, so we are not looking at being able to have half of the students in the building at a time without a massive increase in classroom spacing. I don't understand how. Please explain to me, explain to everyone, how in the world we're going to have enough time with the students to accomplish all of the things that we accomplish with our students, all of the things that are mandated. Is there going to be some massive overhaul of standards? Is there going to be some, I do not see that happening. I think that that this is, they're going to try to make reasons why it's the teacher's problem, to find time, to find ways, to find quote-unquote data-based, research-driven instruction practices. How in the world is this going to work, folks? Please explain it to me. And again, responding to some comment in one of the previous videos in terms of how to accomplish a school day where you only have half of the students. What is the what is the end game of the year at this point in terms of what are we trying to accomplish in such small time? Are we going to have teachers who have to teach morning sessions and evening sessions and also teach online sessions? Are you kidding me? Folks, we have to find solutions because this is a massive train wreck happening in front of our eyes. It affects everyone. We need to put on the brakes. We need to embrace the fact this is not happening this fall. That's the number one thing to begin with. But also that if we do somehow avoid the train wreck of pushing everyone in this fall into the classrooms during a pandemic, there is light at the end of the tunnel. This is not going to last forever, and we can beat it. But we have to somehow band together in a way to find it within ourselves, to confront this, to put a stop to this, and I think it's going to honestly culminate in I don't think we can stop it. I mean, honestly speaking, this is all going to fall apart once everybody's pushed back in. Largest teacher walkout in history. The last couple sections here are about, will the schools be sufficiently cleaned? And it says that school districts will need to hire additional cleaning staff. Where is the funding going to come from for all of these changes with such little time with the students if we're splitting them into groups? And we'll get into more of this in the next one. And it says here, is there a plan to protect high-risk teachers and staff? I won't read this part, but it does say here that one of the options would be to allow elderly teachers to teach from home, or offer early retirement. So they're going to be actively encouraging teachers to retire, just get on out of the way. I cannot believe it. It's so insensitive, and I honestly, I'm going to have to put on the blood pressure cuff for the night because I cannot take it. This is all dizzying me. It's honestly enough, folks. This complete train wreck, this disaster, it's honestly enough to make me want to purchase a metric ton of the circus peanut candy, and have that metric ton blended up into a sticky paste that I would proceed to ingest slowly, but constantly, over a period of multiple decades, eventually ceasing to be human and instead harboring the development of the first ever confection-based life form capable of asexual reproduction by simply budding offspring off of my corpuscular sludge form, Jabba the Hutt-like body. I cannot see how this is going to not culminate in just absolute chaos. I'm going to need a blood pressure cuff for the night. Join me next time for the deep dive into scheduling during a pandemic. Again, we're looking at over a 5-part series. Tonight was part 1. We're looking at the Socially Distanced School Day by Madaline Will on edweek.org. And we are going to continue the deep dive, folks. We're going to continue down the rabbit hole in the next one. Become a Renegade, subscribe, and I will catch you in the next one. Like the video, and this is Renegade Teacher signing off.